Viking Ship.
Hei, Viking Ship. Prøver du hva jeg sier hvis jeg snakker sånn som dette? Tenkte jeg kommer automatisk til å snakke litt høyere.
I think we can start.
Yes, we can. Absolutely. Hi.
Welcome to the museum.
Are you there, everyone? Nice to meet you. I'm Ellen. I'm an archaeologist, and I would love to show you around in the museum, which I happen to love. I will never get fed up with it. Never. What you're looking at just now, you should not look at me, you should look at this beauty. This is Viking ship. It's the real thing. It's the best Viking ship that exists, and it is perhaps the most known. This is the prototype that you will see people want to make copies of if they make movies or cartoons or logos and things like that. This was used early in Viking period, so 750 more or less after Christ. And then it was sailed with and used, and it was reused as a burial ship for two ladies. So this sea-going vessel was pulled on land, and two ladies was put inside, and they covered the whole ship with ladies and everything with earth and clay. And it stayed in the earth for more than 1,000 years, until the archaeologists came. And then we had to go and have a look at the photo on how it looked when this ship was found. So if you come with me and look at this, it's black and white, of course, because this happened in 1904, forget that year, but anyway, it's more than 100 years ago. This is the boss. He looks so much like a boss. It's Mr. Gustafsson. Don't tell anybody, but he was a Swede. And he was a good one. So he did the excavation, and he got a lot of people, of course, to help him to dig the ship out of the earth. As you can see, the ship is very smashed. It was destroyed of the heavy weight of the soil. But it was not rotten. So it was even so well preserved, the ship and all the two ladies, or at least the skeletons of them, and all their grave gifts, that one day our chef, the archaeologist, he found a bucket like this big, and inside the bucket were apples, and they were still red. And that's not supposed to happen, you know? An apple, it stays for a week in your bag, and then it's something disgusting. But it happened here, and this is due to this heavy clay that preserved the Viking ship in the earth. So there were very little oxygen coming into the grave. That's why it's kept. So the archaeologists had to take all those parts into Oslo, where we are now, and put all the parts together to a Viking ship like this. It took more than 20 years. And it's a bit sad, because our Swedish friend, Mr. Gustafsson, he didn't live to see the Viking ship stand in this museum. I think sometimes he visits us at night as a ghost, just to have a look at it. We can walk along it, if you manage. Yeah, you do, with the pictures. What we are looking at is more than 90% original parts. There are some parts who are not original, but they are parts who were so destroyed that they could not be put together with the rest of the ship. So we have them in our storage, but they're not here. What we are looking at just now is the oars. We have them. They're supposed to go, you have to come close to see that, I think, through the holes and out. And you have this little thing. Everyone asks, what's that? The reason for that, if you look at the oars, they have a shape will fit exactly in the hole. So the Vikings could take the oar and put it from the inside and out, and then twist it, and then it was impossible to lose the oar. And you do not want to lose your oar if you are in the middle of the Atlantic. It's not a good idea. So it's one of those small, clever little things that the Vikings did. We are approaching the rear of this Viking ship, and what you're looking at there is the steering oar. It doesn't look so big, perhaps, but just imagine to stand up there and to stare ship with a huge sail and all the force that this Viking ship used to pull away the waves. It's quite a heavy task to steer that ship. So we are leaving this ship and we are going further into the museum because I want you to see the other ships as well. In this museum we have 3 Viking ships. We have the first that we have seen there. We have 2 more. And I want us to have a little break just in the middle of the museum. Since, okay, we had a little interruption. We have a beautiful movie inside there. What do you think? Should we just have a short look at it? And someday you will have to come and visit the museum in real life. It's a nice movie. Just to see what the noise is. Do you get that? It's a film which tells the story of a Viking ship from where it was, let's say, born in the wood as a tree and assembled as a ship and then used as a sailing ship out on adventures, out in the whole world, and then it was reused as a burial ship, just like the 2 ships that we have. The ship in the middle of this room, if you can see that while the film is playing, I think you can, is the 3rd best preserved Viking ship in the world. It's called a tuna ship. Name is not so important because the Vikings had other names for the Viking ship. Anyway, they call them something cool. But this ship is not so well preserved as the 2 others, but it's quite practical for us in a museum because it's so open that you can see how it's built. We will go a bit away from the movie so that we have the Viking ships are clinker built, which means I want to show with my hands that the planking are overlapping like this. But we will also walk over the ship and have a look at it. There are the oak, and the oak wood is nailed together with iron rivets. So if we have a close-up, you can see how the plankings are overlapping. And I think I will have to do a horrible thing. I will cross the fence. After all, I am working here. Did I lose this thing? No, I didn't. Probably but keeping those planks together. And they're made of iron, and they're not copied, they're real. So the Viking ship are built of wood and iron. And they had a huge sail made of wood. The sail is quite interesting. I just have to make a little interruption, tell you about that. Because people tend to think that the valuable piece is the ship. It is, of course it is. But it's also the sail. So it costs just as much to have a sail made as it costs to have a ship like this made. We are looking at the Gokstad ship. It's the 2nd best preserved Viking ship in the world. It's a beauty. I just want us to step just in front of the ship. And look at that. This is a ship for a man who wanted to go somewhere. This is a Viking ship that can cross oceans. This is a Viking ship that can even go from Norway to America if you want to, and the Viking did. They wanted to go as far as they could with ships like that. And even if the ships are sturdy and they're very seagoing and very good for that. Because a lot of Viking ships went straight under and hit the ground and sick and all those things that we tend not to talk about. There are also some other things I want you to think about. If you go far away in a boat like that, you need food and you need water. The Vikings were incredibly good with food, with dried food. They could do that, so they could bring enough food. But if your food is dried and salty, you need water. What to do? Human adult needs minimum 2 liters of humidity a day. How will you bring that? If you have a crew of around 30 persons and everyone needs 2 liters of water a day, it's a problem. And if you don't manage to get enough water for your crew, they will suffer, be miserable, and then they will start to lose their mind, not completely their mind. They won't be crazy as that soon, but they will not be very functional. They will start to think in a slow way, and that's not what you need. So you need to be sure that you have water enough and food enough for all the group. We think that they will bring the water in leather sacks, but we haven't found them. So we are moving along the ship, and just now we are doing a lot of work in the museum to take better care of the ships. That's why we have taken some of those items out of the ship and moved them, and they're standing where they're not supposed to, or not usually stands, like this one. It looks like something old and destroyed, which it is, but it's a copper casserole, and it was in the Viking ship, and it even has some runes on it. We don't know what the runes says. We haven't been able to read them, but they're there. We don't tell people. So, I think I wanted to bring you down to have a look at my favorite ladies. On the way, we are saying hello to my colleagues. Bjarte, wave. Say hello. Thank you. Bjarte is preparing to make a 3D scan of the Viking ships. And we need to do that in order to see if it changed or how it is and where do it needs more support. We are sure that it needs more support, but where to put it and how to put it. So he's doing that. Okay. Do you think you can do that?
Yeah.
We just got an invitation to climb up the ladder to film inside of the Viking ship. Wow! He's doing something completely forbidden. He's trembling. Can you see that? Don't fall. Okay, you can fall down, but do not fall on the Viking ship. Don't destroy the Viking ship. You see up there that is the Viking ship is without a floor. That's why it's because they are taking the floor away in order to do all these investigations and precautions that we need to do on the Viking ship just now. I'm not sure if it is the same picture of that, because I think someone is a bit shaky in the knees. I love it. It's a beauty, isn't it? It's a real Viking ship. It's built in the Viking period, and it has been around the world with Vikings inside. We will leave the ladder for our colleague and go back to say hello to the ladies, where I was actually heading. That's the way it is in this museum. It happens a lot of exciting things all the time, so you have to, just do some shortcuts every now and then. Look at those. Aren't they cute? That's the remains of those two ladies who were buried in the first ship that we looked at. And I have to present them for you. They don't have any names. We don't know what they were called. We don't know what they were thinking. We do know that this was an old lady. She was around 80 years old when she died, which is amazing in a Viking society. The average age of death in the Viking period was around 40, which tells us that there was a lot of babies who died. So this is the older one, and this is the younger one. She was around 50 or perhaps 60 when she died, and we do not know what she died of. We think, or we know that the old lady, she was quite sick. She had cancer, and we can see that because there are tumors in her bones. But Okay, even if she was deadly sick, it's not necessarily so that she will die of the disease. And we do not know which one of those two are the main person in the grave. It could be the older one, it could be the younger one, but we are quite sure that both of them are very important rich ladies. They were political leaders, religious leaders, and it's even so that it might be that one of those two are offered to follow the first one in the grave. So if, let's say, the older one died, they thought that the younger one had to follow her to the kingdom of death, and they killed her. The Vikings did human sacrifice. But if the gods are supposed to be pleased, you need to, do a real offering. It couldn't be something destroyed or something bad if the gods were supposed to be pleased and be happy. So it tells us that if one of them were killed to follow the other one, both of them were rich. They didn't simply kill a sick slave. Of course, that would have created a lot of anger among the gods, which is not a good idea. Should avoid that. So that's the two ladies. I like them. I think that it's important for us to have them in the museum since they are so close to the human beings in the Vikings that we can get. And we shouldn't forget that there were actually people like us who sailed in those ships and had a society in the Viking period. They lived a different life than us, but there are some people that are very common for all people, like you want to be happy, you want to be safe, you want to eat some good food, you want to perhaps meet some interesting people of the other sex, you want to marry, you want to have kids, and you want your kids to be happy. And this is what's common for us and the Vikings, and it makes the history interesting to think of it like that. I think we should move on. I want us to walk inside the room where we have some of the most beautiful items from the grave with the two ladies. This man who was buried in the ship that you're looking at now, the Gokstad ship, he also got a nice grave. He also got nice items, and there were horses and even two peacocks offered, put into his grave. But even that, this grave of that man was splendid and wonderful. Those items that we're going to look at now, there are something what hasn't been seen anywhere else. It's something completely special. The whole room is full of stuff, but it's not just stuff. Look at it. This is the wagon of the two ladies. And you're looking at one of my favorite parts, because look closely at those ornamentations. You might think that the Vikings had dragons when they wanted to make wood carvings. But look at that, they're actually cats. And they're cats with a headache. Can you see the hands? They're holding their hands towards the head. Like, oh dear, I can't stand this anymore. And we think it's a reason for it. We think that one or both of the two ladies were actually some kind of a priest or a rover. And they had a special connection with this goddess of fertility called Freya. And in the myth, she had a wagon, and this wagon was pulled by cats, which doesn't work very well in real life. But if you were a priest for Freya, you might have a wagon with cats, and to have the connection with Freya, and everybody will understand that you had a special connection with her. So perhaps that's why. And then you have those strange faces. I don't know who they are. They're just men. But from those ornamentations, you can it gives us an idea of what the Vikings looked like. The way, the hairstyle, his moustache. So you have this one, and if you look at this as well, it looks a bit different. But it's still a well-groomed man. It's not a savage with the hair and moustache and all over the place. The Vikings wanted to look nice. They wanted to use jewelry, to use nice clothes, nice colors, and simply, be nice. Well, perhaps not when they behaved, because everything you have heard about the Vikings being totally cruel and violent is also true. So you have both stories. You have the story of the violent Viking, and you also have the story of the Viking who want to look nice. And there is, and I have to tell you that, because there is a wonderful source. The Vikings didn't write themselves. They used runes, but they didn't write books. So everything was written about the Vikings at the same time that the Viking lived is written by somebody else. And there is a wonderful letter found in England from the son of a bishop who was rich, just imagine. And this teenager boy, he had got enough of Vikings. He simply was fed up with Vikings, not because they were violent, but they took all the girls away. The girls wanted to be with the Vikings because they were bathing. And this son of a bishop, he was Christian, and he was not supposed to take his clothes off at all. So he never bathed, never had a bath, which meant that he didn't smell well. And not strange, the Vikings, the girls in England wanted to have a nice smelling man. So this English bishop's son had got enough. Some more art. We are jumping a bit, doesn't matter. I'm showing you my favorites. And if I'm going to pick one of these items, it would be this one. We have 5 of those heads in the grave. One is unfortunately destroyed. This one is absolutely my favorite. It's so clean. It's in the passion. Okay, let's start. I started on the wrong spot. Imagine the grave. Inside, the boat was pulled on land. Inside the boat, they had a little house just for the 2 dead ladies. And inside this house, there was a bed. In this bed, there were 2 dead ladies. And around the bed, we had those animals. And they were standing and hold a rope in their mouth, surrounding the bed. And they were actually facing outwards. So we think that those animal heads were some kind of protection against evil forces and evil spirits that will be around or perhaps coming from the 2 dead ladies. So the living had to be protected against the dead, and this was the job of those animal heads. What do you think? Does it look like something were able to protect you? And again, if we try to point your camera towards the sleds. If you look at those sleds, they have animal heads in the corners and they're all facing outwards. So I think it's the same way of thinking. The Vikings needed protection. And if you're sitting inside such a sleds, you could feel safe because you had those animals who were protecting you. So here in the museum, among archaeologists, we are not really talking about the Viking warrior. We are more talking about the Viking as a warrior person. They were afraid. They had a lot of things to worry about, like evil spirits. And it brings us to the Vikings as attackers. So if you follow me, I want to show you some items here. Here in this vitrine, there are some things for standing on this glass shelf. And if you can get a close-up of this strange little guy there, those things we are looking at, it's a little Buddha, isn't it? But it's not from India, this bucket. Those things on this glass shelf are actually stolen from Ireland. And the Vikings were violent. And they were violent because they wanted to be rich. And they knew that those monasteries in Ireland and England, they were easy prey. They were just monks and they wasn't very good to protect themselves. So there were some Vikings who attacked the monastery and they stole those things and brought it back to Norway, and it ended up in a grave with two ladies. And the little Buddha on this bucket is quite strange. You shouldn't think that it is a Celtic figure. It's a Buddha. It belongs in India. But it tells us that the people in Ireland, the Celts, they were traveling around the world even before the Viking period, and they met people and they got an idea, and they used this idea in their own ornamentation and even in their own religion. We think that this little Buddha was actually a Celtic god. Yeah, since we are here, comps, they're also strange. There is a small one used as a normal comb, but the big one was made for grooming horses. And since the Vikings, they were fond of horses, they liked horses, and they believed that the horses had a special link to the gods, and an animal with links to the gods need to look good, so it should have his tail really properly groomed. The two ladies in the Oseberg grave, they got with them 15 horses and 6 dogs, so they got enough horses to travel around wherever they ended their, well, they actually ended their life in the real world, but where they ended up afterwards. I also want us to have a look at their shoes. I think shoes are so personal. So again, taking you around to look at my favorite items. Just look at that. They're so cute. It's actually shoes that those ladies used. And what we're looking at now is the shoes of the older lady. And she was an old lady. She was 80-year-old. She had a lot of problems. She had arthritis and she was sick and she was tired. So her shoes were they were very soft, but still had a little build-up. There were a little bit of support in one of them since her feet were so destroyed. So it's really orthopedic shoes from the Viking period. Who should believe that something like that exists? It does in the Viking Ship Museum. Yeah. If I should show you one more thing, which I should, I would like us to go and talk about her animals. Who doesn't like animals on the Viking street? And since those two ladies should have a nice afterlife, they needed to bring with them all these things that we have been looking at, but also the animals, like I told you, a lot of horses and dogs. And you can start here. It's a little dog collar laying there. So she had 6 dogs of different kinds. Some of them were quite big, some of them were smaller, with different purpose. And we might think that, you know, those very small little dogs, that they're something modern that you keep in your handbag, but they're actually not. In the old societies, they used those small, cute little doggies in their bed to keep warm. It was cold, cozy, nice, warm. And then they had the bigger horses for other purposes. She had her horses with her, and what we're looking at there are some strange things. They're rattles. They make noise. And when she was traveling in her sled or in her wagon, they had those to create noise, and this noise again, as the heads, would keep the evil spirits away. Then we have her riding whip and her saddle. So the Vikings were riding their horses, but they were not depending on the horses for the Mongols. The Vikings prefer a boat, but they still had horses. And then I think we have one more little favorite more, it will be the last favorite, just this little thing. Look at that. They're so small and nobody noticed them. They're actually spikes that the horse had in front of their foot so that they shouldn't slip on the ice. We're living in Norway, there's enough ice. But this burial happened in late summer. We know that because of, like I told you, the apples and also other plants and flowers that the archaeologists found in the grave. Why should the horses have spikes? It's something that you have on your horse in the winter. A mystery, but not so. If you think about the mythology of the Vikings, which I do all the time, we know that since those two ladies, they're actually traveling from the real world to the afterlife. And the road to the afterlife, to the kingdom of death, it went north and down. And everybody knows that in the direction of north, it will be colder. Going north and down, I'm sure it will be icy, and you need spikes on your horses. So since the horses in this grave had spikes, I'm very sure that the two ladies ended up safe and sound in the kingdom of death. And I think this was the short version of the exciting story of this museum. There's so much more. I think you have to come and visit me.